All right, so this is the Clover by JHS, brand new for 2019. And this is based on an old Boss pedal from the 80s called the FA-1. And this was a FET preamp type of pedal, famously used by the Edge. And, you know, preamp pedals are unique because like overdrive pedals, they all have sort of this unique voicing characteristic to them. So when you're using a preamp, or if, you know, people talk about really liking the sound of a preamp, like in a delay, some delay pedals have preamps built into them, or whatever. A preamp is really the thing that shapes the sound, the character of the sound, like the most. So the preamp inside of an amp, for example, really shapes the sound, and then, you know, external preamps and preamp pedals and things like that really shape the sound as well. So this, as I said, you know, famously used by the Edge in his touring rigs and apparently on the Unforgettable Fire album, probably other albums as well. It's really interesting, you know, after reading that and then sort of playing through it, I sort of get what that sound is. And it's this like aggressive, very sort of powerful, punchy sound. You know, the Edge is known for his iconic, you know, guitar parts and specifically, you know, delay lines and using like rhythmic hooks to create this atmosphere. And this kind of thing is a big part of why that sound sort of works. And obviously he's a very innovative player as well, but this sound really helps with that kind of thing, that rhythmic thing. So the original Boss pedal actually didn't even have a foot switch. It was just sort of always on. You just went into it and out of it. And it was similar to this, but they've sort of started where that started and then added some, you know, modern accoutrements. So for controls here, upper left, we've got our volume. Below that, we have this 3-band EQ, bass, middle, treble. And then above that, we have this sort of EQ selector switch here. And you can select no EQ, no mids, so just the bass and the treble are activated, or full EQ activated. I really liked using the full EQ because I liked boosting the mids. I thought that was really fun. Like, really usable sounds, even boosting it quite a bit. And I like, you know, cutting the low end a little bit as well, especially at higher sort of gain settings. You know, cut a little of that low, even add some more mids, add a little treble. You know, the sound of this thing is very aggressive, and I find it typical of preamp type pedals. So, you know, the Benson Preamp, the Hudson Broadcast that I always rave about, they're very aggressive, very sort of wild sounding, and they will react very differently into whatever amp setup you have. So it's definitely one of those pedals like try it with your amp, because it will sound different going into every amp. In addition to using this as, you know, a preamp into your amps, as I'm doing a traditional guitar setup, it also has this XLR output. So you could use this in a bass rig and then come straight out of this into, you know, a console or whatever, or with an acoustic guitar and have like a nice little 3-band EQ with a little volume boost here or whatever that you could have always on, or you could, you know, kick it on as a boost or whatever. But it just gives you some additional flexibility and functionality. I think some of the obvious sort of sweet spot uses for this thing would be, you could use it as an always-on pedal, sort of probably how someone like the Edge, you know, used it back in the day. It cleans up very well, so even at higher sort of gain settings, that's like pretty aggressive. Roll down the volume. So beautiful sort of gain structure that allows it to clean up really well. So it could be an always on if you used it sort of mellow, like let's go to the like no EQ and just do like a little volume boost here, and I'll go back and forth between the two. Something like that, maybe even less, more subtle. So if you want to just get like a little more grit out of your overall sound, maybe you want to use it a little more aggressive and then work your volume as I was doing. Just kind of sounds good, you know, like, and then with the addition of this EQ, you know, you can really sculpt the sound even further, even if you're still using it as like an always on. Maybe you want more bass to it. You could use it in conjunction with, you know, another overdrive as well, so you could push the input to that. Let's get like sort of a chilled out sound here. Volume 9 o'clock. EQ pretty much flat, but maybe boosting a little sort of mids and top. I'm going to turn it off. And then let's turn on my Pettyjohn chime down here. So here's straight into the amp. And then here's that Pettyjohn chime. Just a simple low gain first stage type of overdrive. Turn this on. I think the coolest thing to do with it, though, is just push the front end of an amp. So especially if you have an amp like mine, like my Jackson specifically, it really breaks up very nicely. And so pushing this into the front end is just like a recipe for lots of fun. Actually, you know what would be fun is right now we're listening to both my amps together, and it would be cool to listen to them separately and then boosting each one of them with this and kind of hear the differences between the two. So let's do that. All right, so first up is the Jackson. All right, and now the Supro. That's sort of amazing how different that sounds. I mean, that just goes to show you, hopefully it's coming through on the recording, how different a pedal like this, a preamp, can sound into different amplifiers. No surprise, I like it best into both of them. So let's try that. We may as well, just for fun. Let's play that same riff now into both amps. So really cool recreation, reimagination of sort of a classic, little known, I think, Boss pedal from back in the day. So well done, JHS. Thanks for sending this over. Check it out for yourself if you get a chance. Let me know if you have any questions about this pedal down in the comments below, and we'll see you all next time.